Is your shop actually ready for A2L or just hoping it is? Because there's a difference, and that difference is what gets a tech hurt or gets a job failed on inspection. Here's the truth nobody likes to hear. A 2L equipment already makes up over 90% of distributor inventory. This isn't coming, it's already on the truck. So the question isn't whether you'll touch an A2L system this year. It's whether your tools, your training, and your habits are actually rated for it, or whether you've just been getting lucky. Let's clear up the panic first. A lot of techs are still operating off the old January 1st, 2026 deadline, thinking every R410A install becomes illegal overnight. That's not where this landed. The EPA walked that back. As of this year, you can still install R410A systems manufactured before the cutoff as long as supply lasts. So if a supplier is telling you to panic buy inventory or your shop's in a full-blown scramble, that's outdated information driving the decision, not the current rule. Good to know. Doesn't mean you can ignore A2L. It means you've got room to do this right instead of rushed. So what does ready actually mean? 4 tool categories, that's it. Manifolds and gauges, vacuum pumps, recovery machines, leak detectors, everything else in your truck, your wrenches, your pipe cutters, your scale, none of that touches the refrigerant circuit, so none of it needs to change. Start with your leak detector, because this is where shops get it wrong most. Heated diode detectors and old Corona tip sniffers, those are ignition sources. If yours isn't specifically A2L certified, you're walking around with a spark source next to a mildly flammable refrigerant, that's not a maybe. Modern A2L certified detectors use pulse width modulation to keep sensor temps well below R454B's auto ignition point, plus a sintered metal flame arrestor as backup. If you don't know whether your detector has that, it probably doesn't. Next, your recovery machine. Check the motor. A C induction motors spark at start and stop. DC brushless motors don't. That one detail is the difference between a compliant recovery unit and a liability sitting in your van. You don't need a new machine if yours already runs brushless. You do need to actually check, not assume. Vacuum pumps need the same gut check. A 2L rated pumps are spark-free, sealed electrical connections, built to handle residual A2L vapor without becoming the ignition source themselves. Older pumps weren't designed with that in mind. Now your gauges. This one's not about safety, it's about not wasting a callback. R454B has a temperature glide of about 1.5 degrees to 2 degrees. If your digital manifold's still running old pressure temperature charts, your readings will be wrong, and you'll chase a problem that doesn't exist. Most of the time, this isn't even a hardware issue. It's a firmware update you've been putting off. Here's the one that burns the most hours in the field, and it's not a tool problem at all. VOC interference, hairspray, fresh paint, cleaning sprays, aerosols, all of that can trigger a false lockout on an A2L sensor. You roll up, get a flammable gas alarm, and there's no leak anywhere. Before you start tearing into a system chasing a phantom leak, ask if the space was just cleaned or sprayed. Ventilate, then retest. Cross-check with a second method if you can. That one habit alone will save you from a dozen wasted truck rolls a year. Don't forget the small stuff either. A 2L cylinders use reverse left-hand threads specifically, so you can't cross-connect them with standard tanks. You need an adapter for that, and it's a $5 part that stops a real problem before it starts. On certification, your EPA Section 608 still covers the legal requirement to handle refrigerant, but A2L specific safety training on flammability handling, ventilation, ignition control, that's becoming the thing manufacturers and insurers are starting to ask for before they'll honor a warranty or a claim. It's not yet universal, but it's heading that way fast, and showing up with that training already done is what separates a shop that looks prepared from one that actually is. So here's the real checklist. Confirm your leak detector is A2L certified, not just newer. Confirm your recovery machine runs brushless, not AC induction. Confirm your vacuum pump is spark-free and sealed. Update your gauge firmware for the glide. Get the thread adapter, and train your team on the VOC false alarm pattern before it costs you a service call you didn't need to make. None of this requires replacing everything in your truck. It requires knowing what you're actually carrying when you need the actual parts, the certified detectors, the brushless recovery units, the adapters. That's exactly what's stocked at ProRefrigerationParts.com, already sorted by what's A2L rated and what isn't, so you're not guessing at a parts counter. So don't ask if your shop is ready for A2L. Ask if you actually know what's in your truck, because that's the question that decides it.